Exclusive insight into the world of Badger athletics. This is Wisconsin Huddle. Here's Andrew Banstra.
Welcome into the Wisconsin Huddle here in Madison at Jay's Bar. I'm Andrew Banstra with WISC TV. Thrilled to be joined by former Wisconsin men's basketball player Trevor Anderson. Trevor, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely, and as always, we're going to do as best we can to get to know who Trevor is as a person and, of course, as a basketball player, too, over the course of this show. And no better way to do that than our favorite game here on the Wisconsin Huddle, Two Truths and an Airball. So you're going to pretend like all three of these things are true, and we're going to see if the crowd and you at home can tell which of these that I'm making up. So the first one certainly sounds made up for somebody that was born and raised in Stevens Point, Wisconsin. You're a Cowboys fan, right?
Yeah, I'm a Cowboys fan. They're actually playing right now. Sad to see Micah go to the green and gold, but I am a Cowboys fan.
There's no soft spot in your heart for the Packers at all?
Not really, no. Yeah, I told my friends this year if Jordan Love gets it done, I'll convert over.
The second of our three truths is that you first dunked a basketball when you were in 6th grade. How crazy is that? And, you know, did you get it on film? How did that happen?
Yeah, I mean, it was insane. The way I dunked that thing in 6th grade, people couldn't believe it. And I mean, you saw my career at Wisconsin. Like I was a high flyer, so.
And the third of our truths in this Two Truths and an Airball is that you were Mr. Basketball in Wisconsin, but there's a little bit of a twist to that, right? It wasn't just you, it was you and one of your best friends.
Yep, yeah, me and Big House, Sam Hauser, Big Smooth we call him. We shared Mr. Basketball our senior year, and it was a pretty special ride for me and him and my father, his dad. They were both on staff with us, so really special to share that with him and watch his career as he's played and gone on to bigger and better.
So all three of those things, at least we portrayed as true, and now the real test is, can you at home and you and our live audience see which one was the lie? Does anybody have any guesses as to which one the lie was? The dunk? Was that the lie?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
I actually never dunked a basketball.
Honestly, as we go throughout your career, you really didn't need to. Back-to-back state titles, Mr. Basketball in the state of Wisconsin. In your final 2 years at SPASH, you go 53-1, 106 in your 106 in your high school career. You and Sam Hauser were kind of, I thought about it and I was thinking, you know, do you want to share a Mr. Basketball award? But for you, is it almost more special that you did, given who you shared it with and your guys' relationship?
Yeah, I would say probably everybody involved in that decision-making too would just kind of agree that it was just the way it kind of needed to be. We both worked extremely hard to get to that point. We kind of shared a lot of accolades over the years, so it just kind of felt right to go out on that high note together.
A lot of people call that the best run in the state's history at the high school basketball level. Just how special was that and how fond are those memories?
Yeah, it seems like it was 15, 20 years ago, but it also feels like it was like just yesterday. Still keep in touch with all of those guys. Those are definitely family.
That wasn't the last time you played at the Kohl Center. We're right down the street from it. We'll talk more about just that when we come back to the Wisconsin Huddle. Welcome back inside Jay's Bar here in Madison. I'm Andrew Banstra. This is Trevor Anderson, former Wisconsin men's basketball player, and this is the Wisconsin Huddle. So we talked about your high school career, one of the best ever in this state's history, and there's been a lot of history. We'll get to that a little bit later in the show, but first I want to talk about your college career. You were a Badger, but it started a little bit closer to home, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yep. I started out, I went to Green Bay, UWGB, played my whole freshman year there, It ended short due to a back injury, but I had a great time, started every game that I was available for.
And you talked about the fact that it feels like it was 15 years ago you were in high school. It feels like that long ago that you had to wait a year after you transferred, because nowadays it's completely different, but that was the way it was just not that long ago with 2017, right?
Yep.
You transferred to Wisconsin, but if you remember, you had to sit out a year. What was that process like? And then you eventually become a Badger and I believe suffer an injury too.
Yeah.
All of that waiting, what was that process like?
I liked it, to be honest. I felt like I could just prepare that whole year and really like see what was coming my way before I got kind of immersed into it. I felt like my body was kind of the best it ever had been. I was in great shape. I worked my butt off. And then ultimately, I think it was an October day, I suffered kind of a non-contact injury, ACL, doing a move that I do 100 times throughout a workout, a practice, jab one way, go the other, and my knee just kind of buckled. The doctors told me that I had partial like ligaments still there, so then I ultimately played on it, but then I think it was like 8 games in against Iowa, I scored a layup, came down wrong, and I just felt that it completely went at that time.
And like we said, things much, much different now. In fact, you know, the Badger team that plays right down the street at the Kohl Center is comprised of mostly transfers, guys that are making big impacts like Austin Rapp, guys like Nick Boyd to complement the Nolan Winters and the John Blackwells, which begs the question, how good can this team be this year?
I think really good. The way they shoot it, the pace they play at, and then when you got guys like Nick Boyd and John Blackwell kind of leading the ship, you're going to be as good as they take you.
And we talk about how things change year over year with the transfer portal, but also NIL. That's not necessarily going to be Greg Gard's bread and butter, but in the portal era, he's certainly found a lot of success. Is that the way to do it?
It does suck for the high school kids, but when you have 2 years of tape against what you're going against, it's hard to justify taking a high school kid playing wherever they're playing at. But yeah, I think Wisconsin's got a great pitch. I mean, if you look at the last couple of years with Johnny Davis, John Tanjay, AJ Storr, like if you want to be an elite wing, you want to score points, like you should come to Wisconsin.
And you're exactly right. Greg Gard continues to prove that year over year that this is a place to develop. Guys that develop tremendously, we'll talk about next when we come back to the Wisconsin Huddle. Welcome back inside the Wisconsin Huddle. I'm Andrew Banstra, joined by Wisconsin men's basketball former player Trevor Anderson, who was a part of that Big Ten title run, alongside Brad Davison, who finds himself back in Madison. He just feels like one of those guys that was meant to be a coach, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. He always kind of told us that was kind of his path and what he envisioned himself doing after basketball was done. Very similar like a Coach Crab, just kind of that Wisconsin DNA. So it definitely feels very right that he's back here on staff with these guys and starting his coaching career and journey.
So you at home can see this right now, but would you believe me if I told you that on Brad Davison's first day at practice as a coach for Wisconsin men's basketball, he took a charge during practice? This is a true story. They're seeing it right now. Would you believe that?
Oh, I'd 100% believe that. Yeah, he was known for taking those charges, and I think it was NC State where he took about 5. He was really good at it, and then it was definitely utilized it to his favor for sure.
And in a lot of ways, you know, he kind of embodies what Greg Gard is looking for, right? Somebody that will do the little things, somebody that, in a lot of ways, how you were described, that will do the winning things, right? And, you know, how big of a difference do players like you and like Brad make in turning a team into a winning team? Because not everybody is going to score 30 a night, right?
Those are the guys you want to go to battle with. guys that you know are about the right things and truly about winning, versus in a world of NIL now where it is stats over kind of the team. You definitely want to go to battle with those type of guys, and he was a winner at every level, and he embodies kind of what it means to kind of be a Badger. So.
And it was a quick turnaround. You know, right before the season, Kirk Penny resigned to spend more time with his family. And the next thing you know, just a few days later, Brad Davison joins the staff. Here's what not only Brad had to say, but also Greg Gard had to say about Brad Davison joining the staff.
He's dynamite on the road recruiting. I mean, he's got a phenomenal personality and a phenomenal eye for talent. And he's a terrific communicator. So, and he's full of energy. And that's, I'd rather have a young coach that you can mold and not have to wind them up.
The dream and the goal has always been to come back to the University of Wisconsin. And if I was the author of my story, that's where I would love to go back to and to bring my family back to. Obviously, you never know when opportunities open up. You never know how your story is written. But I couldn't have written this one any better. This is exactly where we want to be. This university, this campus, this program, the people that are in it and the people that support it, they mean so much to me.
And when we come back to the Wisconsin Huddle, we'll play a fan favorite of famous faces next on the Wisconsin Huddle. Welcome back inside Jay's Bar here in Madison. This is the Wisconsin Huddle. I'm Andrew Vanstra, joined by former Wisconsin men's basketball player Trevor Anderson. And Trevor, I think you're going to have a lot of fun with this one. We like to call it Famous Faces. It is certainly a fan favorite here on the Wisconsin Huddle. So I'm going to show you one face made up of 5 people's faces, and the agenda here is that you can hopefully identify each of these people. They are all Wisconsin natives that are in the NBA, and as we go through, we'll talk about just how cool that is, that trend keeps growing. So let's take a look. We'll start from the top. Does the flow give anything away? We'll say he's the youngest player among these.
From the state of Wisconsin?
Yeah.
Well, we got Pods in the middle.
Sure. So we got Brandon Pajensky.
We got Jalen Johnson with the eyes above him.
Absolutely. He's from right outside of Madison in Sun Prairie.
Oh, is that Con? No.
It's Con.
It is
It
Con.
is,
okay.
yeah.
So Con, Jalen Johnson, Pods, Tyrese. And then Jay Poole.
Yes. Let's talk about some of these guys. I mean, these are elite players, and we'll start from the top with Con Knippel. He scores 32 points in his homecoming against the Bucks, sends the game to overtime, has 200 family and friends in the crowd. I mean, what a cool story that is, and a guy that might end up winning the Rookie of the Year award.
Yeah, I mean, I got a chance to work him out with Sam Hauser this summer. Really cool experience, and the first thing that pops out is just like the strength. He was so strong for an 18, 19-year-old kid, man. I just never seen anything like that. And then you mix in kind of his winning mentality, his shooting capability. It's really cool to watch.
Jalen Johnson, this is a guy right now that is emerging into a top 25 player in the NBA in front of our eyes. I mean, he's from right outside of Madison in Sun Prairie. I mean, how special is this dude on the court?
Me and Sam played on an AAU team with his older brother,
Okay.
Rod. So I got to see him when he was like 6'7", when he was legitimately 6'7", and then just keep watching him grow and just get bigger, faster, stronger. Me and my girlfriend were out in Charlotte last year, and he got me and her some tickets to watch his game out there, and I mean, he's just unbelievable.
And Brandon Pajemski, maybe the opposite of that kind of story in the sense that, you know, he goes to Illinois, doesn't get a whole lot of playing time, goes out west and just turns into a stud, and now he's out there with Steph Curry running things. I mean, talk about a different kind of perspective, and you could almost say the same thing about Tyrese in a way, right?
Yeah.
Iowa State, a really good program, but he's a 3-star coming out of high school, and, you know, both these guys are turning into really high-level players.
I think Pods, like, his story touches on, like, don't feel bad about, like, what's right for you. walking away from Illinois comes with its backlash and kind of ramifications, but ultimately going out to Santa Clara was the best thing that could have happened for him. So I think when you start putting yourself into those decision-making thoughts and processes, it's got to be right for you, and nothing else matters. And I think that he's a prime example of kind of that story.
And what a special time for the state. And this isn't even to mention a Sam Hauser, who we already talked about, or even a Kevon Looney, right?
Yeah.
Or, you go back a little further, look at a Wes Matthews, who went to high school just right down the street here. It is an incredible time for the sport of basketball in the great state of Wisconsin. We've talked a lot about basketball, but let's talk some Wisconsin, like trends in Wisconsin, when we come back to the Wisconsin Huddle. Welcome back inside Jay's Bar here in Madison. This is the Wisconsin Huddle. I'm Andrew Banstra, joined by former Wisconsin men's basketball player Trevor Anderson. And we've talked about a lot of things, but being from Wisconsin, we gotta do a little bit of pick'em, right? So some fun things, would you rather? We'll start with fish fry or cheese curds. If you had to get rid of one for the rest of your life and have unlimited of the other forever, which would it be?
I would never want to get rid of either of them.
Right, sure.
I want to start there.
Right answer.
But if I had to, I'm keeping fish fry around.
Sure.
Fish fry, Friday night,
Yeah.
Wisconsin. In the summer, there's just nothing better.
And, there is maybe a limit on the cheese curds you can eat. You eat enough and you're like, all right, but fish fry's more sustaining, right?
Yeah.
There's some health aspects to it, even though it may
Well, and
be
then
fried.
there's different fish that
Sure.
you
Yeah.
can eat and
Yeah.
switch it up. And with cheese curds, it's either kind of orange or white,
Sure, this is true. You lived in Madison, you lived in Green Bay. Of course, you're from Stevens Point. You live in Milwaukee now. If you had to pick one area of the state, what's the best?
I would probably say Madison.
Sure.
I don't live there now. Like you said, I live in Milwaukee. Obviously, Stevens Point has a tremendous place in my heart. But if you're just talking aesthetics, things to do, nightlife, it's all right here.
So we kind of touched on it there. What are you up to these days? And I know you're doing some training as well.
Yeah, doing some basketball training, some camps, and then I do a sales job for a 3PL. It's called Priority One, third-party logistics. So kind of in that logistics supply chain space. It's really cool, learning a lot, and yeah, just trying to soak it all in. They don't teach you when you go from being like the student athlete in basketball kind of was your whole regiment, your whole plan, your whole life. When you kind of get kicked out of that revolving door that college is, it's like, what's next? So finding my footing and just trying to learn as much as I can right now.
So we always close out the Wisconsin Huddle the same way. I want you to pick your favorite way to break a huddle. Do you have a favorite memory of a way you break a huddle, whether it be a saying or something you do?
No, nothing that comes to mind like that.
Fair enough. Well, then maybe for the first time ever, I'll do something and I'll break us down. Before I do that, Trevor, thank you so much for coming on the Wisconsin Huddle. It was an absolute blast having you on the show.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me, and shout out Jays.
Absolutely. And with that, we'll bring it in. We'll say Wisconsin Huddle on 3. We'll go 1, 2, 3.
Wisconsin Huddle.
Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next week.
Let me first met